Sarah arrived in Frankfurt, Germany. She felt good with $1,000 in her wallet. She thought it was enough for her trip in Europe. But at the money exchange counter, her smile disappeared. The person working there gave her only 950 euros. Sarah wondered, why is my money worth less here? Should not money be worth the same everywhere? 2 weeks later, Sarah was in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. She expected the money to be different this time. She gave $100 to a bank teller. The teller began counting many colorful Vietnamese dong notes. When the counting stopped, Sarah was looking at 2.5 million dong. The very same $100 that became less than 100 euros was now worth millions in Vietnam. This was a very surprising experience for her to see. This surprising experience makes many people ask big questions every day. Why is money not simply equal across borders? What are the unseen forces that decide that a single US dollar should be worth less than one European euro? And how can that same dollar also be worth 25,000 Vietnamese dong at the same time? Also, why do these numbers move up and down every single day? It is as if some unseen power controls them. The answers to these important questions will help us understand one of the most interesting and complex systems in human life. This is the global foreign exchange market. In this market, a huge amount of money, about $7.5 trillion, changes hands every single day. It is like an endless dance of international business, political choices, and how people feel about the economy. This book will explain the invisible forces that control how much money is worth. We will start by looking at the long history of money. Then we will learn about the big games countries play with their money. These games can quickly make an economy strong or weak. You will understand why your money buys different amounts in different places around the world. This journey will explain the invisible powers that shape the value of money globally. 2. From gold to paper. To understand why money changes value today, we need to look back at how money worked in the past. For a very long time, money was tied to real things, like gold or silver. People trusted their money because they knew they could exchange it for a set amount of these precious metals. This old system was called the gold standard. Under this system, a country's paper money was simply a promise. It was a promise that the government would give you a fixed amount of gold if you asked for it. For example, $1 might have been equal to a small piece of gold. If another country's money was worth 2 small pieces of gold, then it was worth $2. This made money very stable and predictable. The value of one country's money compared to another's did not change much. Central banks, which are the main banks for governments, kept big stores of gold. This gold was the reason people believed in the paper money. But the gold standard also had a big problem. Governments could not just print more money whenever they wanted. They could only print as much paper money as they had gold in their vaults. During difficult times, like during wars or when the economy was slow, governments often needed more money. They wanted to spend money to help their country. But because of the gold standard, they could not easily create more money. This limited what governments could do to fix economic problems. A very important change happened in 1971. On August 15th of that year, President Richard Nixon of the United States made a big announcement. He said that the U.S. dollar would no longer be tied to gold. This decision effectively ended the gold standard for many countries around the world. It started a new era for money. Now, most money used worldwide is called fiat money. The word fiat comes from Latin and means "let it be done." This means that fiat money has value because a government says it does. It is not backed by gold or any other real object. A $20 bill, for example, is valuable because the United States government says it is. More importantly, it is valuable because people trust that it will be accepted for goods and services every day. This move to fiat money brought a lot of flexibility. Central banks could now act quickly during economic crises. They could change how much money was in the system or adjust interest rates without worrying about gold reserves. This flexibility was very important, for example, during the global money crisis in 2008. However, this new system also means that the value of money can change more often. Without gold as a fixed anchor, money's value now moves based on supply and demand, trust in the government, and the health of the economy. This is why we see money values changing all the time today. 3. Why money buys less. Imagine you have some money. If prices for things like food and clothes go up a lot, your money buys less. This is called inflation. When a country has high inflation, its money becomes weaker. People do not want to keep money that buys less each day. This happens because if your money is not worth much at home, people from other countries also do not want it. This reduces its value when you try to exchange it for other currencies, like euros or dollars. A clear example of this happened in Zimbabwe, a country in Africa. In the year 1980, Zimbabwe's money was strong and stable. But over time, challenges arose. The government in Zimbabwe decided to print a lot of new money instead of fixing the economy. They printed so much money that there was simply too much of it compared to the goods and services available in the country. This led to something terrible called hyperinflation. Hyperinflation means prices rise incredibly fast, sometimes doubling every single day. People needed huge amounts of money just to buy simple things like bread or a bus ticket. Prices changed many times in just one day. Life savings became completely worthless overnight. Older people who had saved for retirement found their money could not buy anything. Businesses could not set prices. People even started using other countries' money, like the US dollar, because their own currency had no value at all. Foreign companies left because it was impossible to do business. By the year 2009, the situation was so bad that Zimbabwe officially stopped using its own currency. They started using foreign money instead, mainly the US dollar and the South African rand. This extreme case shows how printing too much money without real economic growth can quickly destroy a currency's value and cause great hardship. So, inflation is the first big reason why your money can buy less. When prices go up very fast, the money loses its power and people lose trust in it. A country's money becomes weak when there is too much of it for the goods and services it can buy, making it less attractive to everyone. 4. How banks control money. Chapter 4 looks at the second big force that changes how much money is worth: interest rates. These rates are set by special banks called central banks. For example, in the United States, it is the Federal Reserve. In Europe, it is the European Central Bank. These banks are like the main money managers for their countries. They have a very important job: keeping the economy stable. What are interest rates? Simply put, an interest rate is the price of borrowing money. It is also the reward you get for saving money. When a central bank makes interest rates higher, it means borrowing money becomes more expensive for everyone. This makes people and businesses want to borrow less, and they save more instead. Higher rates can make the economy slow down, which helps if prices are rising too fast. When central banks make interest rates lower, borrowing is cheaper. This makes people and businesses want to borrow and spend more, helping the economy grow faster. But interest rates do something else too. They act like a magnet for money from other countries. Imagine you have a lot of money to invest. You want to put it where you can earn the most. If a country's central bank raises its interest rates, it means you can earn more money by saving or investing there compared to other countries. So, investors from all over the world will want to send their money to that country. To invest in that country, these foreign investors first need to change their money into that country's currency. For example, if an investor from Japan wants to put money in a country with high interest rates, they need to change their Japanese yen into that country's money. This creates a higher demand for that country's currency. When many investors do this, the demand for that currency goes up. When demand goes up, the currency becomes stronger compared to other currencies. Central banks have a tough job. They must balance two important things. They want to make their currency strong enough to attract foreign money, which can be good for their economy. But they also need to make sure their own economy stays healthy. If interest rates are too high, it can slow down their own country's growth too much. Businesses might not borrow money to expand, and people might not buy homes or cars, which can lead to job losses. The leaders of these central banks are very important. When the head of a central bank talks about what they might do with interest rates in the future, people who trade money around the world listen very carefully. Even a few words suggesting that interest rates might go up or down can cause a currency's value to change very quickly. Traders often try to guess what the central bank will do and buy or sell currencies based on these guesses. This shows how much power these special banks have over the value of money across the globe. Their decisions can truly change a currency's value overnight. Why safe countries have strong money. The third big force that makes a country's money strong is its stability. This means how safe and predictable a country is. Think of it this way. People who have money to invest, like big companies or wealthy individuals, want to put their money in places where it will be safe. They do not want to worry that the government will suddenly change laws, take their money, or that there will be a lot of fighting or problems. They want to know that the rules of the game will stay the same for a long time. Because of this, investors really like countries that are boring in a good way. Countries that have stable governments, clear laws, and a predictable way of doing things are very attractive. When a country offers this kind of safety, it gets something called a stability premium. This means its money becomes stronger just because people trust it more. Even if another country offers a chance to earn more money quickly, investors might still choose the safer, more stable country. They prefer steady, sure returns over risky, big ones. China is a good example of how stability can change a country's money. Many years ago, in the late 1970s, China was not a stable place for foreign money. Its economy was mostly closed, and there had been many political problems. Outside businesses did not want to invest there because they were not sure if their money would be safe. The Chinese money, the yuan, was not very important in the world. Then China started to change. Its leaders, like Deng Xiaoping, began to open the country to the world. They created special areas where foreign companies could build factories and do business. More importantly, they made sure that the rules in these areas were stable and clear. Foreign businesses knew that their property would be safe and their agreements would be honored. They saw that China was serious about these new rules and kept them over time. This new stability started to attract a lot of money from other countries. Big companies from America, Europe, and other parts of Asia wanted to build things in China. They needed to pay for factories, workers, and materials in China. To do this, they first had to change their own money, like US dollars or euros, into Chinese yuan. This created a huge demand for the yuan. As more and more foreign money came into China year after year, the demand for the yuan grew stronger. This constant demand made China's currency much stronger over time. The yuan became an important currency in global trade, all because China had built a stable place for businesses to grow. This is why countries like Switzerland, Singapore, or Denmark, which are known for their stable governments and strong laws, often have very strong money. Investors feel confident putting their money there. On the other hand, countries with a lot of political problems or sudden changes in government often have weaker money, even if they have many natural resources, like Venezuela. People are afraid to invest there because their money might not be safe. The force of stability, therefore, plays a huge part in how strong a country's money becomes in the world. 6. How buying and selling changes money. Our journey into money's value continues, now looking at a fourth important force: international trade. This means how countries buy and sell goods and services with each other. Every time a country sells something to another country or buys something from it, money changes hands. This constant movement of money directly affects a currency's value. Think about it like this. When a country sells a lot of its products to other countries, these are called exports. For example, if Germany sells many cars to the United States, American buyers need to change their US dollars into euros to pay for those cars. This creates a high demand for euros. When many people want to buy a currency, its value usually goes up, making it stronger. So high exports often lead to a stronger currency. On the other hand, when a country buys many products from other countries, these are called imports. If the United States buys a lot of electronics from Japan, American people and businesses need to change their US dollars into Japanese yen to pay. This creates a high demand for Japanese yen, but it also means many US dollars are being offered for sale to get yen. When many people want to sell a currency, its value tends to go down, making it weaker. Therefore, high imports can lead to a weaker currency. The balance between exports and imports, often called the trade balance, is very important. If a country exports much more than it imports, it usually has a strong currency. If it imports much more than it exports, its currency might become weaker. There is a very special example of how buying and selling affects money, especially the US dollar. This is called the petrodollar system. Since the 1970s, the US dollar has been central to buying and selling oil around the world. Oil is a very important product that almost every country needs for energy and industry. The petrodollar system started with an agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia, a major oil producer. Saudi Arabia agreed to sell its oil in US dollars and to invest the money it earned in US government bonds. Other oil-producing countries also started to sell their oil in US dollars. This meant that if Japan wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, Japan first had to get US dollars. If Germany wanted to buy oil from Kuwait, Germany also had to get US dollars. This arrangement created a huge and constant demand for US dollars all over the world. No matter which two countries were trading oil, they often needed US dollars to complete the transaction. This steady global demand for the dollar helped keep its value strong. It also made the US dollar the most important currency for international trade and finance. This system gave the United States an important economic advantage. Because the world constantly needed dollars for oil, the U.S. government could borrow money more easily and at lower interest rates. American banks also became very important in global finance because they handled so many dollar transactions. In summary, the way countries buy and sell goods internationally directly affects their currency's value. A country that sells a lot of goods abroad sees its currency get stronger. A country that buys a lot from abroad might see its currency get weaker. And for the US dollar, its special role in the global oil market has created a powerful, ongoing demand that helps keep it strong. Strong money or weak money? Countries have different ways to manage their money and its value. While many big currencies let their value change freely each day, some countries choose a different path. They decide to link their money to another, often stronger currency. This is called pegging. The main goal of pegging is to make a country's own money more stable and trusted, especially for smaller economies. For example, the country of Brunei has tied its money, the Brunei dollar, to the Singapore dollar. Since 1967, one Brunei dollar has always been worth one Singapore dollar. This agreement works well because both Brunei and Singapore have strong, stable economies and similar ways of managing their money. It means people can easily use either country's money in both places, which is very helpful for business and travel. Another example is Belize, a country in Central America. Since 1976, the Belize dollar has been fixed to the US dollar. 2 Belize dollars are always equal to 1 US dollar. This link helps Belize a lot with trade and tourism, as the United States is a big partner for them. It removes uncertainty about how much their money is worth against the US dollar. However, pegging has a trade-off. When a country pegs its money, it gives up some control over its own money policies. Its central bank cannot easily change interest rates to help the local economy if it needs to. It must keep its money stable against the anchor currency, even if its own economy would benefit from a different approach. History shows that sometimes these links can break, like what happened with Argentina's money in the early 2000s or Thailand's money in 1997. This can cause big economic problems if the peg is not managed well. Now, let's think about whether a strong currency is always better than a weak one. It sounds simple, but it's actually quite complex. A strong currency is good for some people, but not for others. If your country's money is strong, you can buy more foreign goods for less. So, if you want to buy new clothes from Europe or electronics from Japan, a strong home currency is great. It makes foreign goods cheaper for consumers. Also, people who import goods from other countries find their costs go down when their currency is strong. A strong currency also makes international travel more affordable, as your money buys more in other countries. But for businesses that sell their products to other countries, a strong currency can be a problem. These businesses are called exporters. A strong currency makes their products more expensive for foreign buyers. For example, if a car made in Germany costs 50,000 euros and the euro is very strong, that car will cost a lot of US dollars for American buyers. This can make it harder for German companies to sell their cars in the US, which can hurt their business and even lead to job losses in Germany. So, for countries that rely on selling many goods to the world, a weaker currency can be better. It makes their products cheaper and more attractive to international buyers. Germany, for example, benefited from the euro being a bit weaker than their old money, the Deutsche Mark, might have been on its own. This helped German companies sell a lot more goods around the world. China also experienced this. For many years, some believed China kept its money, the yuan, weaker on purpose. This made Chinese products very cheap for other countries. It helped China become a huge producer of goods for the world. But it also caused disagreements with countries like the United States. In conclusion, there is no single best value for a country's money. A strong currency helps consumers and importers, while a weaker currency often helps businesses that sell goods abroad and create jobs. Countries try to find a balance that works best for their economy at a given time. 8. What this all means. We have now seen the main forces that make money's value change. First, inflation means your money buys less over time. When a country prints too much money, prices go up very fast, and your money loses its buying power. Second, interest rates set by central banks can attract money from other countries. Central banks, like the Federal Reserve in the United States, decide these rates. Higher rates mean people get more for saving money there, making a currency stronger. Third, stability is key. Countries with steady governments and good rules are seen as safe. Investors feel secure putting their money in such places, and this demand makes that country's money stronger. Fourth, international trade also greatly affects a currency's value. If a country sells many goods to other countries, exports, those buyers need that country's money, making it stronger. If a country buys a lot from others, imports, its money can get weaker. Some people dream of one world dollar. This idea sounds easy and would remove many problems. You would not need to change money when you travel between countries. Businesses would not worry about currency values changing all the time. But this idea has big problems. We can look at the euro, which many countries in Europe use. This makes travel and trade easy within Europe. But when one country, like Greece, had a very weak economy and big debts, it could not make its own currency weaker to become more competitive. Instead, it faced deep economic pain, trying to fix its problems while being tied to the stronger euro. For a single world money, this problem would be much bigger. Countries around the world are too different in their economies and needs. What helps one country might hurt another very badly. The way money works now, with many different currencies, can seem messy. Money values go up and down every day. This creates some uncertainty for travelers and businesses. However, this system also gives countries something very important: flexibility. Each country can make its own money choices to fit its unique needs and challenges. For example, when a country's economy slows down, its central bank can lower interest rates to encourage people and businesses to spend more. If inflation is high, they can raise rates to slow down spending. If there was one world money, this kind of specific help would be impossible. It would be like having one size of shoes for everyone, no matter their foot size. So, what does all this mean for people like Sarah? At first, she was surprised that her US dollars bought so little in Europe, but so much in Vietnam. Now we understand why. It is because of all these forces working together: inflation, interest rates, stability, and trade. This ongoing dance of currency values, though sometimes confusing, is what makes international travel, trade, and even buying things online from other countries possible for people like Sarah and for everyone around the globe. This complex system ultimately enables connections across different economies. What do you find most interesting about how money's value changes?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.